Bluff City Media presents Tigers Live with Francis Carlota. Join Francis after every Memphis Tiger game as he breaks down each matchup, player of the game, and upcoming games. Now, let's get to the show. Hey, what's going on, Tiger fans? This is Kenny Stubblefield, joined by my man, my guy, Roman Cleary. Roman, I know what you think. I know what you're thinking, man. I know you thought that Sunday afternoon, March 10th, would be a relaxing, calm, easy day of basketball. Nothing really big happening. But apparently, we have a major fight in LSU versus South Carolina's SEC tournament game, the women's game. Everybody got ejected. Everybody and their mom came out of the stands and started throwing blows. Plus, I think they're ending the game like there's only 5 players left on each team that are ending the game for the last 2 minutes. And then also UAB and SMU had their final regular season AAC matchup, which determined a lot for the Tigers. And it was a crazy game.
Yep.
Right. It was a pretty wild game. So
yeah,
I know you thought that
I think SMU blew like a 15-point lead or something like that in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And of course, UAB went on the win 74-70, meaning that Memphis is the number 5 seed in the American Athletic Conference tournament, which means they're going to be playing the 1:30 game on Thursday against the winner of Wichita State and Rice.
All right. So I just want you to know, I was kind of, as I was doing my research, and the reason why Roman and I wanted to do this today is because I know that it's kind of been confusing. Like, where are the matchups? Where will the Tigers end up landing? We wanted to kind of walk through it with everybody just to give everybody kind of a brief rundown as they go into this week with the AAC tournament happening. Obviously, want to also send a shout out to Coach Alex Simmons and the women's basketball team. They ended up losing their first round game against East Carolina today, but man, big things on the horizon for the women's basketball program. And Coach Alex Simmons, man, I don't know if you've had the chance to interview her yet, but she is crazy impressive, Roman, by the way.
Yeah. We spoke to her a little bit at the Student Madness thing earlier this year. So yeah.
She's an impressive individual. But anyway, so on to the men's Tigers tournament hopes. I've been writing notes down. I'm a post-it notes guy, so I've got like 3 post-it notes sitting here in front of me. And I know one of the things that I hear from you beat writers all the time is that when you do your recaps, like, y'all cheat a little bit, right? Like y'all cheat a little bit and you start writing out your stories before the game is over. And every so often you have to completely scratch your original article because something crazy happens and you got to write something different. Well, that's these post-it notes for me today. Like the SMU Mustangs were up by 15 with like 5 minutes left. And so I started writing out my notes. Okay, this is where the Tigers are going to end up. And then with like 5 seconds left in the game, I was like, well, damn, I got to start writing out the other side of it too. Like what's going on? Had to totally revamp my entire note system here. But you said it already. The Tigers will be the number 5 seed, which means UAB will be the 4 seed. SMU will be the 6 seed in the tournament. So the Tigers have missed the opportunity to have a double bye. They will have the game 1 bye, the Wednesday's games. They will be not playing in those games, but they will start on Thursday at 1:30 against Wichita State versus Rice, the winner of that game.
Yeah. And I've heard a lot of debate over the past couple of days. Oh, what's the easier path, the number 5 seed or the number 6 seed? And personally, I liked the 6 seed path a little bit because you would get 3-seeded Charlotte in the semifinals if you get past the Thursday game. And Memphis mollywopped Charlotte the first time around. We all know that, obviously. And I know that you would get FAU in the semifinals as opposed to the championship game, hypothetically, in that path. But at this point, I don't think it really matters when you get FAU again. Because, again, the at-large hopes are over. So there's no like, oh, we need to wait for FAU until the championship. So it looks better for the at-large resume. That none of that matters anymore. It's just about winning the tournament. So
yeah,
you mean you're going to have to get through FAU, and you're going to have to get through South Florida one way or another.
Yeah.
So I don't really think that aspect of it matters. But
I wanted to ask you this. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, this is still an interesting scenario because now Memphis will avoid the side of both FAU and SMU completely. And
Which I'm
hypothetically, in that semifinal matchup, you're going to get FAU and SMU being forced to play each other. And SMU has given Memphis tons of problems this year, and FAU is probably the best team in the field besides Memphis. So having one of those two knock each other out is still a favorable thing for sure for Memphis. Now, if they get to the semifinals, which it's like a 97% chance they will, when and if they get to the semifinals, they're still going to have to get South Florida. They're still going to have to get past them. Now, they
hold on,
lead to South Florida.
I want to let's take it. Let's press pause on this for a second because I wanted to kind of go through each individual matchup with you. Okay. I have 3 questions for you that I wanted to ask you. Number 1, obviously, we've answered the first one. The Tigers will be the 5 seed in the tournament. The second question I wanted to ask you was, who are they potentially going to face off against? And then the third question I want to ask you, and we can answer these 2 at the same time. What are your projections on that game? What do you think is going to happen? Okay, so let's do this. The Wednesday game. Now that the Tigers are in the 5th seed, the Wednesday game, noon Central Standard Time, Wichita State versus Rice. Who do you have in that game winning?
Ooh, see, both of these teams are trash, so it's hard to project a winner there. You know what? I think I'm gonna go with Rice.
Woo! Hot take by Roman Cleary. My God.
Again, both aren't playing very well right now, but I think Evie and Max Fiedler are enough to get it done over a pretty porous Wichita State team that doesn't really have a great scorer there. I think Rice has better top guys, so I'll take them.
Okay, so then that would mean that Rice and Memphis would face off on Thursday at 1:30 in the second round of the AAC tournament. Who do you have winning that game?
Really?
I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
Memphis, obviously.
Okay.
I know Rice beat them, but I don't really think that matters here.
Okay.
Memphis is obviously a different team than they were at that time. I think they're significantly better. You have Naquan Tomlin playing his best ball of the year when he was far from that in the first game. Jones has been better. Quinterly has been better. Memphis should roll past Rice. They should, at least.
Okay, so then in the second round, Memphis would then face off against their old foe from Birmingham, the UAB Blazers.
Yeah, and that's not ideal. It's not.
Is it not?
I'd much rather have Charlotte. I would much rather have Charlotte.
Okay. I mean, I feel you on that, but I mean, I think
and UAB gave Memphis hell.
They did
twice in a row this year. They really did.
Right.
So that's a game that does worry me. I have Memphis winning it, obviously, but that's a game that does worry me because if UAB gets hot from 3-point range like they have the past 2 matchups, there's no home crowd to will Memphis back into it this time around. Again, you're in a dead environment at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Texas. It's that neutral floor. And
I will say this to you as somebody who's covered the Tigers at the AAC tournament in the Dickies Arena. It is a dead environment until the Tigers play. I'll say that. Tigers travel very, very well to Fort Worth. It will be very, very loud in there for the Tigers. So while I understand what you're saying about it being a neutral site court, all that kind of stuff, in terms of the fans that are there, the majority of them at every game will be Tiger fans.
Yeah, for sure. I understand that, but still, you're not going to get sold out, blue crowd like you would at the FedEx Forum, right?
It's true.
So there's still going to be a lot more silence there than Memphis is used to, I guess, even if it is a crowd that I guess is favored towards them. But I mean, the UAB matchup that is concerning because again, UAB's given Memphis trouble twice in a row, and I do think Memphis gets out of that, but it's going to be difficult.
Okay. And then obviously they will face off against the winner of the USF game versus the winner of the Tulsa ECU game in the second round. Will then play USF in the quarterfinals. USF versus, let's just say, I would say probably
Tulsa.
East Carolina. I'll say East Carolina.
I mean, I think Tulsa's better right now.
Okay.
Tulsa just beat South Florida, and East
Okay.
Carolina lost at home to Charlotte. I
Okay.
don't think Charlotte's that good, so
All right. So we'll go Tulsa
I'll
then.
take Tulsa there.
Tulsa
But
versus
either way, South
USF.
Florida's winning. So
Yeah.
I mean, either way, South Florida's winning it, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So yeah,
So South Florida wins that game, which then they would face off against the Tigers in the semifinals of the AAC tournament. If the Tigers were able to get past UAB, I mean that's a heck of a that Tulsa. I mean that Memphis versus UAB um, Thursday or Friday game, the quarterfinal game. That's a heck of a game. But then they have to go
yeah.
turn right back around and face off against USF more than likely. Those are two of the. Are you as concerned? How I know we've played USF. I know USF beat the Tigers in in Memphis. Obviously, it was kind of a weird game with that ice storm and no fans showed up. I think there was like 1,000 people in the stands at that point. Tigers were up by 20 plus in the second half, and ultimately lost that game. How concerned are you with USF and what they've brought to the table? They've been a surprise, I think, this entire year. Obviously, they were picked 13th in the conference, and they have run away with the AAC conference this year.
Yeah, see, this is difficult. South Florida is obviously a better team than UAB, but I think UAB is a worse matchup for Memphis than South
I
Florida
can feel
is.
that. Yeah.
And again, I know Memphis blew a 20-point lead to South Florida, but we can flip that, right? Memphis was up by 20 on this South Florida team before they fell apart. So
Right.
is South Florida really better than Memphis? I don't think so. Uh, I could prove to be totally wrong about this because South Florida's played really well lately. They were even in some at-large conversations before they got upset by Tulsa yesterday. But I think Memphis is a better team than South Florida. So I would take them in that matchup. And I think Memphis would have more trouble in the UAB game than the South Florida game. That's just
That's
my
interesting.
opinion, though.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. And then obviously, if they get through that game, the USF game, they'll face off in the finals against the winner of. If we go chalk, but I still think if we can, let's go chalk with it and say Charlotte versus FAU, the winner of that game. But let me
Charlotte's
just.
not beating SMU. They're not. I know
I don't
SMU
know.
hasn't been great lately, but Charlotte's not good.
I'm saying chalk. Let's go chalk. But
Okay. We'll do
SMU
it.
could beat Charlotte. I also think North Texas could beat FAU. Like I think if they get hot, their guard
No.
play, UNT's guard play when they get hot is tough. They're
Dude,
tough.
if North Texas doesn't have the 3-point shot, they're garbage.
I understand that, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying
And
they
we just saw
could.
FAU shut that down a couple days ago.
Right. I'm just saying it could, just like SMU could beat Charlotte, right? But let's go chalk with it on the other side of the bracket and say that FAU versus Charlotte in the semifinals. Who you think FAU obviously wins that game, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think FAU gets to the championship. They have a pretty easy path now without Memphis on their side of the bracket.
And then it leads all to Sunday afternoon. Championship game, AAC tournament for the third time this year, FAU versus Memphis. Let me ask you this. Did yesterday's game against FAU change your view on the Tigers' hopes to beat them in the AAC tournament?
No, it did not. We talked about this extensively on the post-game show yesterday, but I really feel like that game was a product of the environment Memphis was in. You're in the Baldwin Arena, 3,000 people in there at most, but when you're in that, condensed building, the walls are super closed in on you. I mean, you could touch the ceiling if you're at the top of the stands in there. And I don't know, it's just a difficult place to play because you have a lot more noise being condensed. I mean, you know how the physics of noise and all that kind of stuff works. We're not the best at explaining that, obviously, but you get what we're talking about. The point is that those small arenas like Baldwin Arena, where you have a bunch of raucous college students and whatnot, it's a tough place to play. And I think Memphis got really overwhelmed by that yesterday. I mean, we heard guys like Jaden Hardaway talking after the game. They literally couldn't hear the play calls from Penny on the sideline because of just how loud it was in there. They had other communication issues as well, and you're simply not going to get that in the AAC tournament at Dickies Arena. You're just not going to get that. Again, it's a much more chill environment, and I think that plays to Memphis's advantage. And I think Memphis is better than this FAU team on a neutral floor. That's just my opinion. It's pretty close. Golden is going to give Memphis a lot of trouble again, obviously, because I just don't think they have any way of defending him. But if they can hobble John L. Davis like they have twice in a row,
right?
If they can keep Elijah Martin in check, if Brian Greenlee doesn't go off for 21 points again, which, spoiler alert, he likely won't, I don't see why Memphis can't win this game.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone's playing up to par the way they should. I know 4 games in 4 days is tough, but against a league like the AAC, people say all the time, "Oh, it's a trash league. It's a trash league." Like Memphis should roll through it, and now they're like, "Oh, there's no way Memphis can win 4 games in 4 days." Like, stay on one side of this or the other.
Yeah.
Like,
don't flip flop on us.
Like, can Memphis either run through the league in 4 days or not? You know.
Well, I would say that there's a reason why Memphis is the 5th seed in the AAC tournament compared to what everybody thought they were at the beginning of the year. And so I would say that the majority of people's comments about whether they can win 4 games in 4 days is not due to the competition, but more so due to which Tigers team is going to show up day to day. Can they keep up that level of intensity for 4 days that they're going to need, because it is win or go home for everybody, right? Like, there's not a single team outside of maybe I know that
FAU's in. They're in.
Well, I know that's what everybody said, and sure, that's fine. Even though the record is not their strength of schedule, their record is not any, like, whatever. I don't want to get into that. That the committee can do what they want to do. FAU is in. USF more than likely, if they don't win it, won't be in based on their strength of schedule. Based on all the factors that the committee uses to justify those kinds of conversations. But every team outside of FAU either win or they go home, or they're done for the year. And so you're going to face off against teams that are desperate. And the question has to be, like, not only which Tigers team will show up, but which Penny Hardaway is going to show up, right? Which Penny Hardaway is going to show up. The Penny Hardaway that is going to make the decisions that are going to allow the Tigers to flourish, or the one that's going to end up having Joe Cooper and Jalen Young on the floor for extended minutes with Jordan Brown in the middle of the first half and lose all momentum, right? Like, that's the question that I think that most Tiger fans are wondering about, that less so about the competition within the AAC. Now, I would also say, one of the things that I think has become increasingly clear for the Tigers is their bench depth is not good. They are a top 5 starting team, and then the quality of the bench goes way down after that. There becomes especially when you have to bring in a guy like Jordan Brown off the bench to spell minutes for your bigs, it's going to be a very rough stretch for the Tigers when they have to bring him on the floor. So my question to you is, you've said you and Francis were talking a few weeks ago on Tigers Live, the post-game show, where you talked about the rotations, and you said play 5 players, play only 5. Do you think they can do that?
I said 6 or 7.
Okay. I think you said 5 or 6, but we don't have to parse words. Do you think that the Tigers can get away with a vastly limited depth chart for this week and not just completely wear their players down? Are they going to have to play guys that shouldn't be playing out there?
I know we see some of the best teams in the country do it all the time, so I don't really know why Memphis can't. I mean, again, it's like you said, it's win or go home for everybody. Everybody's going to be playing their best guys as many minutes as they can, so Memphis should be doing the same.
Mm-hmm. So 4 games in 4 days. You're not concerned that, they get to FAU in the championship game. It's going to be an easy, that's going to be an easy decision, right? Like, you play your best players, you put it all out there and you go for it. But what happens in that first round against Wichita State? where they have to play Ashton or Jalen or Jordan and it just goes badly? Like, that's my question, is what happens there?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not like a crystal ball, so I can't predict exactly what's going to happen in the basketball game. So that's a difficult thing to say, but I don't see Jordan Brown getting too much run after what we saw at FAU. I
I
just
hope
don't
not.
see that. I mean, if you play Jaden a little bit, that doesn't concern me. If you have to play Jalen
No.
Young a little bit, that doesn't concern me.
Right.
Even Joe Cooper doesn't really concern me. The only guy that I'm really scared of playing is Jordan Brown, if I'm being honest. It's the
Yeah.
only guy I'm really hesitant to play.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, man. It is going to be tough. So FAU versus Memphis. What do you think? Tigers neutral court. Do they win the AAC tournament this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think Memphis is the better team on a neutral floor. Again, we can have that debate all you want. I can totally understand if someone says, no, I think FAU's better on a neutral floor. There's definitely an argument for that. But personally, I think Memphis's talent is better. Their athleticism is better. Their length is better. And I think they have the personnel to give Davis and Martin enough fits to keep them under wraps enough to come away with a close victory. There's nothing they can really do to stop Golden, but there's nothing FAU can really do to stop Tomlin.
That's right.
On that end. Yeah. So I think that kind of evens that out a little bit. So it's really going to come down to whose guards are better. And yeah. Memphis's guards have been better in both of the matchups so far, in my opinion.
I agree. So, what's the matchup you're looking for in that game, that championship game, that you said, man, if they could just keep this guy down? Obviously, Golden's going to get his points and his rebounds just because he's just that much bigger than everybody. But who is it you're looking at? Is it John L? Is it Elijah?
Yeah, it's mainly John L. Davis. Just keep John L. Davis out of rhythm, and don't let Brian Greenlee get 21 points again. And I think Memphis should be able to come out with a close win in that hypothetical matchup that we're talking about there.
So if the Tigers win the AAC tournament and they're automatically into the NCAA tournament, where do you think they're set at in terms of seeding wise?
Ooh, see, that's difficult. I can see anywhere from like a 9 to a 12, honestly.
Yeah.
There.
Which, let me ask you this. Would you be more interested in a 10, 11, 12 seeding than an 8, 9 seeding?
Oh, yes, for sure. Yeah. No, I don't want no part of a 1 seed in the second round if I'm Memphis. Yeah. I don't want any part of that. That obviously killed them in 2022. And I know that they would have gotten Fairleigh Dickinson somehow last year if they had gone past FAU, but that's like a 1 in a million chance. So no, if you're Memphis, you definitely don't want any part of that 8-9 game. And I guess it's where falling apart like this really helps you in a way. You're not even good enough to get that seed.
Yeah. So I got a question for you. This is the last question and we'll get out of here. Go spend the rest of our Sundays with our families. But are you surprised, like, looking up at the end of the season now, the regular season, knowing that the Tigers are 5th in the AAC tournament, the 5th seed in the AAC tournament, how much of a shocker is that to you in terms of like early season projections and where we thought this team would be?
Is it fair to say 10 out of 10?
Yeah, I think so.
It's very shocking. Not even considering the preseason projections, considering how they actually started the season.
Yeah.
They were number 10 in the AP Top 25. They were 15-2. They had beaten like 6 power conference teams. They had dominated Virginia, beat a really good Clemson team, a win that's held up very well today. Won pretty convincingly at Texas A&M, blew out Missouri, beat teams like Arkansas and Michigan in the battle for Atlantis. I mean, this looked like one of the better teams in college basketball. Yeah. And at their peak, I think they still are, but they have just not been able to find that consistency in AAC tournament play, and it's cost them a chance at a conference regular season championship. It's cost them a chance at a conference tournament bye, and most importantly, it's cost them the opportunity to get an at-large bid to this year's NCAA tournament, meaning that they got to win 4 games in 4 days. They have to do something that no AAC team has ever done before,
right,
to get to their third consecutive NCAA tournament. And if you had told me that was going to be the case on March 7th or January 7th or whenever it was they were ranked in the top 10, I would have bet some pretty serious money that you were wrong there.
Well, here's the beauty of this season of college basketball is that it's a new season now, Roman. Starting today, it's a new season. And the Tigers have now 4 games in 4 days to continue their season, and make a reality what every team in college basketball wants, and that's an opportunity to win a national championship. And so all this other, the nonsense, the drama, the whatever it is, all the issues that have plagued the Tigers, the chemistry issues, whatever it is, all those things from this past season are now gone. It doesn't matter. It's a new season, right? Like, this is a new season, and it's time for the Tigers to go. Let's just go win 4 straight. And they've done it. They've already done it twice now this season. They've won 15 straight. Like, they can do this. You know what I'm saying? Or no, 10 straight. Excuse me.
Yeah, they've won 10 straight.
They won 10 straight. They can go do this. So
if they win 10 straight,
that's what I love.
If they win 10 straight again, they're like the national champions. Think about that.
It's a national championship. They've done that already. They've won 10 straight already. They can do this.
Yeah.
Right. But anyway, Roman, I appreciate it, man. By the way, for everybody that's out there watching, Roman and I will be headed to Fort Worth on Thursday. Our plans have changed. We thought we were leaving at one time. Now we're going to be leaving at another. So you might see us on Thursday night post game, that second round or the first round of the AAC tournament, looking very tired based on our traveling. But we're going to be down there, or we're going to be over there. We're going to have a good time covering the Tigers, being there. Y'all tune in. Francis will still be doing Tigers Live, the post game show. And Roman will be on there. We'll have a good time, man. We'll have all the video, sights and sounds, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a good time. Roman, I'm excited. I'm glad I get to be with you as you cover your first AAC tournament. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how far Memphis is able to go. And yeah, it should be a fun time, like you said.
All right, brother. Well, let's wrap this up and get out of here. Tigers, let's recap real quick. Tigers are 5th seed in the AAC tournament. They will be facing off against the winner of Wichita State versus Rice. You think it's going to be Rice on Thursday at 1:30 in Dickies Arena at Fort Worth. So Tigers have a chance to go and do it. So here's hoping they do it, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. It makes my job more fun.
Makes it more fun
if they win. So,
contrary to what most people think, we actually like to cover a team that wins games, right? Like, that's successful. We enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely rooting for Memphis' success because, again, it makes our job more fun. So,
all right, Roman, we're out of here. We'll see y'all on Thursday.
For this past week, it not only kept that 1% hope alive, I think that percentage has grown because you see them beat Florida Atlantic, you realize they can beat just about anybody in conference if they can beat that team.
Yeah, and we've known this. They haven't shown that in quite a while, but we've known the whole year that Memphis is really at their best, at their peak max powers. They're capable of beating pretty much any team in college basketball. I believe that. I mean, they have very quality wins. They've went in tough environments and won games against quality opponents. Like, Memphis can beat a lot of top 25 teams in the country probably. They're just that good on paper. But for whatever reason, they only show up at certain times.
Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
The next 2 years, if they can find a roster that works with those guys making the money they make, they'll have 2 legitimate shots at titles, I think, for 2 years. And now after that, you figure out what you're going to figure out. Jaren's going to come up again, and his money's going to be more. Maybe that's the point where you've got to break it up. This trade deadline and this offseason, acquiring some pieces that make sense for you, not development guys, not drafting guys, acquiring pieces and guys on favorable contracts that fit into your system, that finish those last little bits around the edges that you need. And that's, I think, why the next 2 years are so important. I think that's why the trade deadline is so important, as well as the offseason, because they've got to find pieces that work. They cannot develop guys. They're done with that. They can't be doing that anymore.
Time is done.
Tune in
Thank you for listening to this episode of Tigers Live. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next time.